Hi, today we're going to talk about kind of a mid-level outlining of your book or story, whatever you're getting ready to sit down and write. I talked about the importance of developing individualized character arcs for each character. So the next step in the outlining process would then be to take a kind of zoom out and take a look at all of those individual character arcs. Okay. The goal is to weave together all of these story arcs of the individual characters and their individual plot lines to make kind of a storyline or chronological storyboard, however you want to do that. You want to look for areas where the plots intersect, moments where characters' ideals might align, areas where they might clash and you have a big fight scene. Just looking for those big triggers, and some of those really important scenes in your story will start to become very clear. When are you going to have these clashes? When are you going to have these big moments in the story? Those should be clear, and you should put kind of like a pin in those. And there's going to be a lot of outlining in that particular area of the story. Now, there may be a few holes here and there, but we can fill that in later on as we further develop our outline. But you want to take and map out the story events, and basically it's going to be a really high level outline. And once you start to get some of these events, and maybe even a lot of times I'll have a point of view, like I want this event to be from this character's view, or this event to be from a different character's view, you can start to kind of segment those out into, okay, this seems like a chapter here, that seems like a chapter there, and you can start to actually chronologically outline all of the chapters of your books in this kind of high level, it may only be a couple sentences. Here's what happens in this particular part of the book. This is what happens. You have a big confrontation. Two of the characters get in an argument. Maybe they discover something very important to the plot line, and that's the overall, gist of that chapter. You're kind of giving the chapter a heading. It doesn't have to have a lot of detail. You just need to know, you need to think about what characters are going to be in that chapter, who your cast is for that chapter, and then you also need to know just the basic bones of what the main focus of that chapter is and what's going to happen in that chapter. And this is your high level outline, and we're going to come back to it later and kind of expand on that further as we go. It's kind of, it's a baby steps. So this is kind of your mid-level outline where you outline the story. And whenever I start writing, I might not have the entire outline done, but I know where I'm starting, and usually I will kind of hash out the very detailed parts of the outline. Whenever I expand on it, I will kind of do that as I go, because if you spend all that time doing that, a lot of times what you'll find is that your outline will change. So whatever you put on the paper, that's not necessarily how it's going to go step 1, 2, 3. A lot of times as I start kind of elaborating, and whenever I sit down and write, I say, oh, I want to spend a lot more time writing this particular action. And it ends up like, okay, maybe this isn't 1 chapter anymore. Maybe this is 2 chapters. And so I end up expanding and changing the chapters. So the outline is going to be fluid and it's going to change. But what it does is it gives you a progression of large scale events that you know are going to happen in your story. And so you can continue to brainstorm and move forward, and you'll be less likely to actually have any kind of a writer's block, because you'll know, okay, well, this happened, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. So you kind of already have an idea where they're going to go. Later in developmental editing, you might find that there's a hole in the story where you need to add something or even take something out. But when we're talking about outlining and rough drafting, You just want to get through it. Whenever you go back and reread it, you can definitely look for those issues where things might be lacking a little bit. But just to get from point A to point B, just get the words on the page, and any of those other developmental issues can be shored up later.